top 10 military spending or defense budget by African countries. Only 3 countries in East and Central Africa can make the top 10 list of countries that spend big budgets on defense. It is no wonder they are considered powerful in the region. Watch every bit of this video to find out who it is. Welcome aboard. Please smash a like on this video and subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to hit the bell button so that you can always be reminded whenever we put up a new video. On number 10, Uganda. There are several reasons for a country like Uganda to invest heavily in security, despite criticism from local politicians that seem to shun security as being key in the wake of terrorism. The East African country ranks 10th on the list of countries that spend a lot on defense. It is believed that Uganda spent over $900 million in 2021 and is expected to spend even more this year and years to come. This amounts to 2.6% of GDP. Defense's classified expenditure hit up to 2 trillion shillings in 2021, and this figure is expected to even go higher in the new budget. It should be noted that the higher the budget, the more the country is able to defend its citizens and border from any attack. The Uganda People's Defense Force, UPDF, is currently in Congo, collaborating with the Congolese to ensure that the ADF is dealt with once and for all and does not launch attacks on the two countries. This is all backed by the huge budget. On our number 9, Kenya. Kenya is one of the few East and Central African countries that are on the top 10 list of top countries that spend on their security. It is believed that Kenya spent $1.1 billion in 2021 on defense, and this has been the culture in the past years, hence helping the East African country build a very strong force. Kenya is ranked 81 out of the 141 countries considered for ranking in the Global Firepower Index, having 24,000 active armed personnel and no reserve force, according to GFP. Kenya's Defense Force and other security organizations spend a lot on fighting internal criminality, which includes terrorism, despite a few other cross-border operations like the one in Congo. This greatly justifies the reason for spending big on their security. On number 8, Nigeria. Nigeria is not only an economic powerhouse in Africa, but also ranks highly among the top countries with a formidable force. Nigeria ranks 4th behind Algeria on the Global Firepower Index as a country with a very powerful army, despite the atrocities caused by the Boko Haram that terrorizes the rural areas. This can as well be attributed to the huge budget of $2.1 billion that is spent on defense annually by the government of Buhari. Nigeria is largely known for fighting insurgencies within its borders caused by the different groups of terrorists that abduct and kidnap. The West African country in 2021 used 0.6% of its gross domestic product (GDP) to ensure that the country and its borders were safe. And this is expected to slowly but steadily increase as years go by to ensure that all the loose ends are tied in defense of the nation. On number 7, South Africa. The South African National Defense Force is the continent's second best army, but the South African nation spends less on defense annually than the other 6 countries of the continent. South Africa spent $3.597 billion on defense. Despite this, the capacity of South Africa's National Defense Force cannot be underestimated, having evolved over time and now reaching a stage of semi-autonomy. South Africa inherited a very good force from a colonial rule to date, and therefore, even if it doesn't spend a huge chunk of its budget, the force is already good. On number 6, Sudan. Sudan is one of the most military strong countries despite being marred by the endless civil wars and demonstration, beginning with the ousting of Bashir and continuing the ongoing leadership struggles. Sudan spends approximately $4 million on its defense and sits in the 6th position on the continent. It also ranks as the 9th most powerful military country on the continent. The Sudanese armed forces are ranked 73 out of 140 countries considered for the annual Global Firepower Review, within 100,000 active forces and 5,000 in the reserve force. On number 5, Libya. Despite the innumerous challenges that the country has faced since the downfall of Colonel Muammar Gaddafi, the North African country is still one of the countries that spend big on its defense. It is estimated that Libya spends more than $4.9 billion on its defense. Currently sitting in position 8 among the countries with the most powerful armies, Libya has 3 armies, namely the Libyan National Army, Haftar Armed Forces, and Libyan Arab Armed Forces. And these forces share a huge national budget. The Libyan National Army deploys one of the most lethal fighter jets called the Chinese Wing Longlang 2 UAVs given by the UAE to the National Army among other weapons. On number 4, Morocco. Morocco spends $6 billion on its defense every financial year, putting the West African country at number 4 on the continent. The Royal Army Moroccan forces are about 215,000 troops strong and consist of 195,000 professional soldiers and 2,000 conscripts. Morocco, whose main ally is the United States of America, has gradually built a formidable force comprised of a Royal Moroccan Army, a branch of the Royal Moroccan Armed Forces responsible for land-based operations and wings. It is one of the few forces in Africa that uses satellite-enabled drones to pinpoint the exact location of the enemy and strike. This was in the wake of Gendarmerie terrorists that had started to destabilize the country. On number 3, Angola. The country on the west coast of South Africa is one of the few heavy defense spenders on the continent, with a defense budget of $7.65 billion, and this has helped the country to form a strong force that sits 7th on the continent behind Ethiopia. Angola Armed Forces, or FAA, is ranked 66 out of the 140 countries considered for the annual Global Firepower Review in 2022, with 107,000 active forces and 0 reserve forces. As a way of extending their foreign policy, Angola is known to be among the countries that have fought in the Democratic Republic of Congo to support the Congolese forces despite being criticized for the same back home. The Angolan forces follow the general model of the Anguillas Portuguese Special Forces, receiving similar training, and this has made them a force to reckon with. And at number 2, Egypt. Without a doubt, Egypt has the best force on the continent, and this dates back to the time of the Bible when Egypt was still one of the strongest countries on the planet. The Egyptian armed forces are comprised of 310,000 active personnel and over 375,000 reserve forces. In 2013, Egypt plugged into a coup d'etat that took place on July 3rd. The Egyptian army chief, General Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, led a coalition to remove the president of Egypt, Mohamed Morsi, from power and suspended the Egyptian constitution of 2012. The move came after the military's ultimatum for the government to resolve its differences with protesters. During this time, the army was deployed to restore sanity in the country. The North African countries invest heavily in their forces, and it should be noted that last year, Egypt's defense budget was $10 billion and is expected to continue rising over the years. Despite ranking second in the biggest defense budget, Egypt somehow surpasses any other country on the continent in putting together a formidable force. Number 1. Algeria. Their combat capabilities in the force of the country have thus remained untested. However, the Algerian military is arguably recognized to be one of the most professional and well-trained militaries in both Africa and the Arab world. The West African country spends a lot on its defense and is ranked number 1 on the continent. Algeria spent $13.9 billion on defense in 2021, which justifies the well-being of its 500,000 valiant men and women who dedicated their life to defending the country's sovereignty. Algeria is ranked 31st out of 140 countries in the world considered in the Global Firepower Review, only behind South Africa and Egypt respectively. Following a series of civil wars that ravaged Algeria in 1991 to 2002, the Arab nation vowed not to engage in any more wars, but this has not prevented the Arab nation from preparing for an invasion.
Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell button such that you can be reminded whenever we put a new video. Much love.